Hello viewers and welcome to my channel. I hope you are all doing well and you started to understand a bit more about how Java works, how if and if else statements are running in Java programming. My name is Robert and in this tutorial I will continue this series of videos and I will be focusing on decision making in Java. And in this specific video I want to discuss about switch statements. Before we move on, if you find these videos helpful and if you like these videos and you want to watch more, please subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up and share it with your friends so they can watch these tutorials, and don't forget to click the bell button so you can get notifications whenever I'm posting new videos. Now I will start with going back a bit in the previous video. So when we ended the previous video we had a quiz there, and in that quiz it was about a program that asked the user to enter three values for three numbers and then make use of the if-else statement to display either the greatest number if there are different values or a message where the numbers are equal in the case that the numbers have the same value. So what I will do now, I want to show you the program the way I've written it, and I hope you did as well. You find a way to write the program and the code to work. So what I will show you here is the actual code. So I've declared the variables and called the scanner class. I ask the user to input the three numbers, and then I started with an if statement. Now in the first condition I've put if num1 is greater than num2 and num1 is greater than num3, so both cases num1 is the greatest, then to print the message plus the value of the num1. And then I continue with an else and an if-else statements. So I've continued all the way putting the values, just changing the values in the conditions of the if. So in the next sequence was the num2 greater than both of them. Else in the third if statement is the num3 greater than both of the numbers. And now in the last case scenario is where all the numbers are equal, is just the message. So the way the code will work will be the first if statement, if that's true, will be displayed this message along with the value of the number. Else in the second condition, so if the first if statement is not true, then it checks the second if statement. If the second if statement is not true, skips to the third, and in the end goes to the else the statement, the last statement, and just printing the numbers are equal in the case that all the three numbers are equal. So as you saw, the program itself is not very complicated. Now let's try to run the program to see how it works. And once we run the program, it's asking for the first value. I'm gonna enter a second value and I'm gonna enter a third value. And now it's displaying the greatest number, which is 45. Now I'm gonna run the program again to check for the case where the numbers have the same value. So I'm gonna enter same value for all three numbers, and we get a display where the numbers are equal. Now that we solved the previous example from the previous video, let's focus about our main topic of this tutorial, which is the switch statement. Now, switch statement is like an alternative to if-else nested statements. So whenever you have if-else, if-else, if-else statements repeating, whenever you need to use them, sometimes it doesn't look very good, your block of code with so many curly brackets, and it can be confusing. And we can use the switch statements as an alternative to that. But bear in mind, there are a couple of conditions that we need to be aware of them before we use the switch statements. So the first condition, the first rule is that when we are using switch statement to test the program, we can use as a test only the same variable. So as in the previous example when we have 3 different variables and we could use them mixed up and we can pick which one to use when we put it in the condition. In this case, with the switch statement, we cannot do that, so we can use only one variable to test the program. And the second condition, the second rule, is that you can use a single value one at a time for each case when we are testing to see if it matches with the variable. So you cannot use for one case multiple values. Also, when you're using switch statements, make sure you declare the variables as integers or characters in order that the switch statements to work properly. Alright, so let's look a bit on the syntax of the switch statement. So as you can see in here, when we are writing the switch statement, we need to write down switch and a pair of brackets. So in between the brackets will be our variable. So the variable needs to be declared into the block of code, into the main code. And here we put the variable name and then followed by curly brackets. So in between the curly brackets, we're gonna write the conditions where the test is gonna be executed. So we will write case. As it says, case is like the first case, is the first test, where we put the value of the variable. So we are checking if the variable has this value. So in the case that the variable has the value, then execute the instruction, and at the end we will write break followed by semicolon. So in this way, with the break function is very useful, so the case, the first test to end and to move to the next test. On the second case, you can add multiple cases, multiple tests. I've just written 2 here, but you can add as many as you want. We write the same, we put the value, the instruction, and a break. And now, when we are finished with all the cases and all the tests that we want to execute, let's say, what if in all of our cases, the values we introduced, they are not compatible with the variable. So in that case, we have a default function at the end where we put the instruction, but we don't need to put the break function, because the code will know that after the default, the switch statement will finish. If you want, you can write break, you can put the break function at the end, but it's not going to be executed, nothing is going to happen. So this is the main switch statement syntax. And as usual, the best way to understand how the switch statement works is with an example. So we'll go back now to our exercise here and we will adjust it a bit. So let's start to make use of the switch statement. So first of all, I will just keep one variable. I'm gonna use just one variable, and as I said, it must be an integer, so the switch statement to work. So I'm gonna delete the other 2 variables, and also the rest of the block of code I'm just gonna delete it for the moment. I'm gonna change the next double with next int, and let's start to make use of the switch statement. So switch for the num1, and let's say that we want to guess the number, the value that the user is gonna enter. So let's play it like a game. So in the first case, I will guess that the user enters 10, let's say, and I will just print a message. So in the case where the user enters 10, I will print a message to say, well done, you have the right answer. Right. Let's take another case. Let's put, for instance, 20. And I'm gonna print same message. Or let's say we have a case where we have another value of 100, and in this case I'm gonna print another message. The value is 100. Actually, I'm gonna change a bit all the codes here to be distinct. The value here is 20 and the value here is 10. And now in the case, as you can see here, I made a mistake. So in typing I forgot to write the colon after the case 100. Don't forget about that, it's very important. Now let's say that I want that in the case when none of the values that I've written here are assigned to the num, I'm going to put a default where I'm going to write a message to say none of the values are correct. Now, in order to work the code, after each case we need to put a break. So if we want for the first case to skip to the second, to the third and so on, we need to put a break. Don't forget about the break, otherwise the code is not going to work. At the end, for the default case, I'm not going to end it with a break because there's no need. And let's run the program to see what happens. So it's asking for a value, right? So let's test it. Let's say the user enters 100 and the output is well done, the value is 100. Let's try again. Let's put 13. None of the values are correct. So as you can see, the default in this case message is displayed. So this is how the switch statement works. This is how the switch is going through each line of the cases and checks, make the test to see if the value inserted in each case matches with the variable. Otherwise, we have a default option here, which is going to print a message. Now, another thing that we can do with the switch statement. So in our example here, I will take this exercise to show you. When we use the case scenarios, we can put multiple values, like I said, and you don't need to write them one by one. If you want, in this example, to find out the value that the user has entered to the variable. So I've put 10, 20, 100, but I want to put the same message to be displayed when it's entered different values. So let's say I'm gonna put the message just well done in the case where the user entered 10, or the case where the user entered 11, or the case where the user entered 12, and the case when the user entered 13. Don't forget the colons after the value. So in all these four cases, I will have the same, I should have the same message in any of these cases. Let's run the program to see what happens. So enter the value, I'm gonna choose 12, I get the message well done. I run it again, I enter the value 13, same message. If I enter the value of 20, it goes to the next case. So as you can see, you can use multiple cases to display the same, to do the same instruction. In my example here is just a message, but you can use it in your own codes to use the same instruction for multiple cases to be checked. Now let's do a quick switch statement quiz to see that you understood this, how switch statement works. The quiz will consist in writing a program that asks the user to enter values within the range of 1 to 10, and the program should then display different colors for the values entered by the user. And the messages are as follow. So if the user enters a value between 1 and 4, it should be displayed the color green, the message green as a color. If it enters the range between 5 and 7, it should be a blue, and between 8 and 10, it should be a yellow. I will let you do this quiz by yourself, and I will show you the output on my program in the next video. Alright, I hope this video was helpful for you, and thank you for watching. If you liked this video, give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you didn't do it yet, and share this video with your friends so they can learn. Don't forget to click the bell button to get notification when I'm posting the new videos. Until we will see each other next time, I wish you all the best and stay safe.